Hollywood once trembled before those eyes, deep, cold, and commanding. Kathleen Turner didn't just enter the film industry, she stormed into it like a hurricane, seductive, dangerous, and intelligent enough to make even the most powerful men in Hollywood wary. From body heat to romancing the stone, she embodied the very definition of the femme fatale, a woman you couldn't look away from, but one the industry's mightiest men feared to cross. Yet behind that husky voice and sensual beauty lay a silent battle. Hollywood crowned her a symbol, then abandoned her the moment she dared to say no. When illness stole her physical strength and medication distorted her once familiar face, the world saw only a fallen star. Never the woman desperately fighting to hold on to herself. How could the icon who once made Hollywood kneel become the one it cast aside? And why, after everything, does Kathleen Turner still stand tall? Not by her looks, but by the pride of a woman who refused to bow? This isn't just the story of an actress. It's the rebirth of a woman brave enough to defy an entire world just to remain true to herself. Kathleen Turner was born on June 19, 1954, in Springfield, Missouri, into a family where art was never encouraged. Her father, Alan Richard Turner, was a seasoned diplomat with the U.S. State Department who had been imprisoned by the Japanese during World War II while serving in China. His life was defined by discipline, rigidity, and unyielding principles, values he passed on to his daughter in the harshest possible way. Her mother, Patsy Meiji Turner, was a quintessential homemaker, gentle but completely confined within the boundaries of family life, devoted to obedience and faith above all else. In that household, there was no room for dreams, only rules, rituals, and duty. Kathleen's childhood was one without roots. Because of her father's diplomatic work, the family moved constantly, from Canada to Cuba, then Venezuela, and finally England. Each move meant leaving behind friends, schools, and any sense of belonging. For a sensitive child, that constant uprooting forged two traits: adaptability and a deep, lingering loneliness. In every new classroom, surrounded by unfamiliar cultures, Kathleen learned to observe, to listen, and to mimic the emotions of others, unknowingly planting the seed of the extraordinary acting talent that would later define her. As she grew older, she understood one thing clearly: if the world would not allow her to express herself, she would find a way to do it, even if only in her imagination. But in her father's home, acting was forbidden. Alan Turner once told his daughter bluntly that acting is just one step above prostitution, a statement that wounded Kathleen, but also ignited her defiance. In that conservative Christian household, where emotions were stifled behind formal dinners and long prayers, young Turner learned to hide her passion. Her love for performance had to live in the shadows, only allowed to flicker when no one was watching. In those quiet nights spent in front of a mirror, mimicking the expressions of actors on television, or whispering lines in the dark as a private ritual. In 1972, when Kathleen was just 17, her father died suddenly of coronary thrombosis in England. His death was not only a loss, but also a complex mixture of release and remorse. The last conversation they ever had was a heated argument. Kathleen had declared she would use her talent to change the world, while he dismissed her dream, insisting that artists never accomplish anything worthwhile. His sudden death left her burdened with a lifelong guilt. She would never have the chance to prove him wrong, nor to apologize. Yet out of that pain, a fire was born. Turner swore that she would become so successful the entire world would have to take notice, so that her father, wherever he was, could never again look down on her passion. After the funeral, Kathleen left England and returned to the United States, a journey that marked not just the end of her childhood, but also her departure from the moral shadow her father had cast over her life. When she set foot on American soil, she knew the road ahead would be filled with judgment, but she was ready. From that moment, the girl born into a diplomatic family where logic was worshipped and emotion was forbidden began rewriting her own destiny. With a fiery heart and an unyielding desire to live truthfully, Kathleen Turner was not merely stepping onto a stage, she was tearing apart the very rules of the world her father once believed were unbreakable. Before Hollywood knew Kathleen Turner as an icon of sensuality and strength, she had been a disciplined gymnast. The years she spent on the mat built her endurance, her control over her body, and her mental toughness, qualities that later allowed her to perform many of her own stunts without a double. Turner once said that sports had taught her how to face fear and pain, two things the acting profession would force her to confront for the rest of her life. After graduating from high school in London, Kathleen returned to the United States and studied acting at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC. There, she met the person who would shape her approach to performance, theater director Herbert Blau, a radical artistic thinker who encouraged his students to search for truth in emotion rather than merely play a part. Blau saw something unique in Kathleen, a mix of intensity, discipline, and a rare ability to command the stage with nothing but her gaze. Under his guidance, Turner came to understand that acting was not just a craft. It was a form of rebellion, a way to assert one's identity in a world determined to dictate how women should be. During her college years, she volunteered for Planned Parenthood, an organization dedicated to reproductive rights and women's health. At just 20, Kathleen had already revealed a strong feminist and humanist conviction, believing that women had the right to choose how they lived and to control their own bodies. It wasn't merely social activism. It was an early reflection of her fierce independence and inner resolve, qualities that would go on to define her entire career in Hollywood. After graduation, she made a bold decision that many called reckless. She drove a $300 1966 Oldsmobile alone to New York City to chase her dream of becoming an actress. No connections, no backup plan, only an unshakable belief that she could make it. "I never thought I would do anything else," she later said. That determination was quickly tested when she faced the brutal reality of New York, an expensive, unforgiving city where thousands of young actors arrived every year, all chasing the same slim chance. In those early months, she lived in a small rented room on the Upper West Side, working days as a waitress and spending her nights auditioning wherever she could. But what set Kathleen apart was her speed. Within just 6 months, she landed her first role in an off-Broadway production, a remarkable achievement for someone completely new to the scene with no connections or reputation. Her stage presence was magnetic. A sharp gaze, a husky voice, and a confidence that felt far beyond her years quickly drew the attention of New York's theater community. In 1978, Turner appeared in the television soap opera The Doctors, her first on-screen role and a crucial stepping stone toward Hollywood. Though the part was small, it was enough for producers to notice one thing. Kathleen Turner was unlike any other actress. She didn't perform to please, nor did she act to be loved. She acted to be understood. And that distinction became the foundation for her career-defining breakthrough just 3 years later. Body Heat, 1981. In 1981, Kathleen Turner entered film history with a single role, but it was enough to define an entire generation of female characters. Body Heat, directed by Lawrence Kasdan and starring Turner as Maddie Walker, was an explosion that shook Hollywood to its core. In that modern noir world, Maddie embodied lethal seduction, intelligent, ruthless, and capable of destroying men without uttering a single threat. Turner, then only 27, infused the role with unprecedented power, transforming the outdated femme fatale archetype into a symbol of female authority. What made her unforgettable wasn't just the look in her eyes or the way she moved through the humid Florida heat, but her husky, smoky voice, equal parts sensual and menacing, as if concealing secrets no one was meant to uncover. Upon release, the New York Times hailed her as the reincarnation of Lauren Bacall in the body of a modern woman, and Hollywood directors rushed to cast her. With just one performance, Kathleen Turner became the most intoxicating and dangerous leading woman of the 1980s. Yet, as audiences were captivated and studios began calling, Turner quietly returned to her old waitressing job at a small Upper West Side cafe, as if nothing had happened. When she told her co-workers she had just finished a movie called Body Heat, they burst out laughing, assuming it was an adult film. No one believed that the woman serving their coffee would soon become one of the most powerful names in Hollywood. Fame arrived swiftly, and with it, the trap Turner saw coming. Hollywood wanted to crown her the queen of erotic thrillers. After Body Heat, she was flooded with similar scripts. Cheap imitations she mockingly called Body Heat 2, Body Heat 3. Producers wanted another Maddie Walker, another body, the same formula: seduce men and be punished for it. Turner turned them all down. "I didn't want to be a sex symbol," she said. "I wanted to be an actress." From that moment, she began fighting back, choosing unpredictable, challenging roles, not to escape Maddie Walker, but to prove that behind the allure was a mind, a personality, and a soul too complex to be contained in one archetype. After Body Heat, Turner didn't slow down. Her next move wasn't fueled by scandal, but by a mission: to redefine the Hollywood leading lady as strong, independent, and intellectually equal to men. That opportunity arrived in 1984 with the adventure romantic comedy Romancing the Stone, where she starred opposite Michael Douglas. Turner played Joan Wilder, a shy romance novelist suddenly thrust into a real-life adventure in South America. From the first day on set, she and Douglas shared what Hollywood calls natural chemistry, an effortless connection that can't be scripted. They teased each other, traded barbs, and laughed like old friends. That energy made audiences believe every glance and every touch between them. But off-screen, things nearly went further. At the time, Douglas was separated from his wife, Deandra Luker, and Turner, emerging from emotionally draining roles, felt she had found a kindred spirit. Their closeness became obvious to everyone on set. But when Deandra unexpectedly flew to Mexico, where filming was underway, her sudden appearance served as a silent reminder that Douglas was still a married man. Turner immediately recognized the boundary that couldn't be crossed. Later, she said, "I never wanted to be the woman who intrudes on another woman's life." The tension didn't damage their friendship. Instead, it intensified the chemistry between Joan Wilder and Jack Colton on screen, making it almost too real. The film became a global hit, grossing $76 million and making Turner a bona fide box office star. The world called her Hollywood's female Indiana Jones. But major success came with its own burden, pressure to repeat the formula. The studio quickly greenlit a sequel, The Jewel of the Nile, 1985, reuniting Turner, Douglas, and Danny DeVito. This time, however, filming was brutal. The crew endured 120-degree heat in the North African desert, and Turner suffered several injuries, including deep cuts to her arm and head during action sequences. Exhausted and frustrated by a weak script, Turner openly protested and tried to withdraw from the film. The studio threatened to sue her for $25 million for breach of contract. The standoff between Hollywood's queen and the studio system grew so tense, it nearly collapsed the project. In the end, Michael Douglas, both her co-star and the film's producer, stepped in to mediate. Turner agreed to continue, but only if she had creative control over her character. When the movie was released, it was another commercial success, and Turner was praised for refusing to become a watered-down version of herself. That same year, she proved her dramatic range in John Huston's dark comedy, Preezy's Honor, opposite Jack Nicholson. The story of two professional killers who fall in love but are ordered to murder each other. Turner's performance was mesmerizing, cool, seductive, and tragic. The film earned both Turner and Nicholson Golden Globe Awards, confirming her rare status as an actress who could dominate the box office and win over critics at the same time. Behind the scenes, the set was filled with humor. Nicholson, suffering from back pain, often complained during love scenes. During one take, when Huston called for another shot, Nicholson groaned, "You climb up this time, I can't make it." Turner laughed and quipped, "Fine, but this time keep the rhythm." The exchange became a Hollywood legend, a testament to Turner's sharp wit, professionalism, and refusal to play second to anyone. After a string of action and romantic hits that crowned her a superstar, Turner sought to prove she was more than a symbol of desire. She was a true actor. In 1986, she took on a deeply emotional role in Francis Ford Coppola's Peggy Sue Got Married, a time travel story about a middle-aged woman who finds herself back at 17, confronting what she lost along the way as a wife, mother, and person. Turner brought nuance and vulnerability to Peggy Sue, her eyes and voice radiating regret mixed with wisdom. The film earned her first Academy Award nomination and remains one of the most authentic portrayals of female introspection in 1980s cinema. Yet behind the camera, the experience was far from pleasant. Her co-star Nicolas Cage, still experimenting with his acting style, chose a bizarre nasal voice for his character, turning every shared scene into a trial of patience. Turner's irritation was palpable, while Cage stubbornly defended his creative choice. The tension grew so intense that Coppola, Cage's uncle, had to separate them to prevent a meltdown. Ironically, that real-life friction fueled their on-screen dynamic, giving the film its raw emotional truth, a clash between past and present, youth and experience. 2 years later, Turner shocked everyone by voicing Jessica Rabbit in the groundbreaking animated film Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 1988. At the time, she was heavily pregnant, but still came to the studio, determined to deliver the performance herself. Her trademark husky voice gave life to one of the most iconic animated characters of the decade, sultry, mysterious, and unforgettable. During her final recording session, while delivering the line, "I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way," Turner's water broke. She insisted on finishing the scene before being rushed to the hospital to give birth. When the film became a massive hit, she declined to be credited, saying her role was too small to deserve it. That humility earned her even more respect from her peers, proof that she never needed the spotlight to validate her worth. Finally, in 1989, Turner reunited with Michael Douglas for The War of the Roses, one of the greatest dark comedies ever made. They played a seemingly perfect couple whose marriage implodes into chaos, turning their home into a battlefield. On screen, Turner delivered a chilling, ironic, and deeply human performance. A portrait of a woman who had given everything for love, only to find emptiness in return. Audiences laughed and winced at once, recognizing themselves in the pride, pain, and silent destruction of love under time's weight. Turner didn't just act. She lived that role, earning praise as the actress who could turn heartbreak into art. Behind all the glory, Kathleen Turner lived by unshakable principles. She never accepted forced nude scenes, as when she refused an excessive one in Crimes of Passion. She never relied on beauty to survive in a world obsessed with appearances. And she always believed that real allure lies in strength, not in skin. That defiance made her one of Hollywood's rare women who could say no, even to the system itself. But just when everything seemed perfect, when fame, money, and power were hers, a silent storm began to rise. Not from Hollywood, but from within her own body. And from there, the story of the Iron Woman of the silver screen would take a darker turn, where the spotlight would fade and only the shadows would reveal the true resilience of Kathleen Turner. As Hollywood entered the 1990s, intoxicated with its new generation of rising stars, Kathleen Turner remained a name that every studio approached with both admiration and caution. After the War of the Roses, she continued to assert her dominance through a string of daring and complex roles. But just as her artistic power reached its height, the light around her began to flicker. In 1990, Turner teamed up with cult director John Waters for Serial Mom, a dark satire in which she played the perfect suburban housewife who also happened to be a serial killer. With a sweet smile and a chilling gaze, she made audiences laugh and shiver at the same time. The role became Turner's artistic manifesto, a sharp stab at Hollywood's long-held ideal of the perfect woman. She proved that allure didn't stem from the body alone, but from a woman's control over her choices and her own power. Many critics would later call Serial Mom Kathleen Turner's most graceful act of rebellion. Yet behind that brilliant performance, her body was quietly betraying her. During the filming of V.I. Warshawski, 1991, Turner frequently suffered from joint pain and stiffness in her hands, but she kept it hidden so production wouldn't be delayed. It wasn't until after the film's release and its commercial failure that doctors diagnosed her with severe rheumatoid arthritis, a disease that could destroy her mobility. For a performer once celebrated for her physical strength and precision, it was a brutal sentence. While others saw a star in decline, Turner saw a new battlefield. This time, not against the studios, but against her own body. In the years that followed, Turner didn't disappear. She reinvented herself on the Broadway stage, where the lights were gentler than the camera's glare. In 1995, she made a powerful comeback with Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, playing Maggie with searing passion and sorrow. The audience rose to their feet, not just to applaud a movie star doing theater, but to honor a woman visibly triumphing over pain right before their eyes. She went on to star in The Graduate, 2000-2002, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? 2005. Each time leaving the audience breathless, her once silky voice, now marked by illness and endurance, transformed into an emblem of resilience. Outside the theater, Turner continued to appear in notable films. Sofia Coppola's The Virgin Suicides, 1999, being a standout example. As the strict, emotionally distant mother of 5 daughters, she was hauntingly understated. No longer the blazing flame of body heat, Turner at this stage radiated a quieter intensity, one of cold poise, melancholy, and introspection. It was more than a role. It was a mirror of herself. A woman once worshipped as an icon, now gazing at her life with weary honesty, but unbroken dignity. And just when it seemed Kathleen Turner had begun to find balance again beneath the stage lights, her personal life started to fracture. Her marriage, her health, her career, all began to spiral toward an unexpected storm. Because sometimes the greatest tragedy doesn't come from losing fame, but from realizing how much one has sacrificed to keep their pride intact. As the stage lights began to fade and the echoes of applause grew distant, Kathleen Turner thought she had finally found a safe harbor, a place where no one loved her for her fame, and no one looked at her through the masks of her roles. At the height of her brilliant career, she met Jay Weiss, a calm, grounded New York real estate executive, the first man who made her feel she didn't have to act in order to be loved. They met in the late 1970s, when she was still a struggling young actress in New York, and he was a successful, composed businessman, the kind of man who could quiet a room simply by entering it. They crossed paths at a small party hosted by mutual friends, where Kathleen, with her tousled hair, sharp gaze, and husky laugh, stood out from the polished women Jay was used to. She, who had long been surrounded by ambitious directors and self-absorbed actors, was drawn to his steadiness and quiet confidence. Their love came slowly, but deeply. Jay didn't belong to the glittering world of Hollywood, and perhaps that was exactly why Turner felt safe with him. He would pick her up after rehearsals, cook her simple dinners, and listen patiently as she talked for hours about her roles, something few men had ever done. In a world full of pursuit and pretense, Turner found in Jay something rare: peace. They married in 1984, just as Kathleen stood at the peak of her stardom. A box office queen, with a man beside her who never tried to steal the spotlight. 3 years later, they welcomed their only child, Rachel Ann Weiss, the daughter Turner would later call the most honest role I've ever played. Rachel's birth changed everything. Kathleen began to turn down projects, determined to be the kind of mother her own had never been. One who truly listened. Mornings were spent walking Rachel to school before heading to the set. Evenings were for bedtime stories and lullabies. For a time, it seemed Kathleen Turner had everything: fame, love, and a peaceful family life. But as in all real-life stories, happiness didn't last forever. When rheumatoid arthritis began ravaging her body, Turner endured unbearable pain that left her barely able to walk or move her hands. Painkillers became her constant companion. Long, bedridden days led to depression, while Jay, still trying to be her anchor, began to feel helpless. He couldn't save the woman who once made Hollywood kneel, nor could he stop her slow slide into dependency and despair. The pressure of illness, work, and isolation gradually eroded their marriage. Turner, once a gentle wife and mother, became short-tempered, withdrawn, and volatile. She felt abandoned. Jay didn't know what more he could do besides stay silent. When Kathleen returned to Broadway, the physical and emotional distance between them only grew wider. She toured. He stayed behind in New York to manage his business. Their daughter Rachel became the only link between them, yet even she could sense the chill in a home that had once been filled with laughter. After nearly 2 decades together, the couple quietly divorced in 2007. No scandals, no public accusations, just 2 people who had walked side by side for too long and no longer recognized each other. Turner kept custody of Rachel, while Jay continued to visit regularly, quietly, as he had always loved her. For Kathleen Turner, that marriage was not a failure. It was a lesson in the limits of love. She had tried to build a world where career and family could coexist, only to realize that in Hollywood's unforgiving reality, strength itself can sometimes destroy the most fragile things. When the door of marriage finally closed, Turner didn't collapse. She chose to stand, alone, but unbroken. And in those solitary years after the divorce, the world came to see what she had always known. The woman who once made Hollywood bow still had one last battle ahead of her. A war not fought on film, but within her own mind, her dignity and her soul. In 1992, at the height of her fame, Kathleen Turner received the kind of diagnosis every actor dreads: rheumatoid arthritis, an autoimmune disease that causes joint pain, swelling, deformity, and the gradual loss of mobility. Doctors told her bluntly she might spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. For a woman celebrated for her physical power and sensuality, it was nothing short of a life sentence. But Turner chose silence. For 2 years, she hid her illness from colleagues and studios, afraid that if word got out, every script would disappear from her hands. Instead of resting, she kept working through the pain, sustained by steroids and heavy painkillers, increasing her dosage each day just to walk onto set without anyone noticing. But the medication began to take its toll. Her face became swollen, her body retained water, her movements grew stiff, and Hollywood has never forgiven a woman for changing. Tabloids pounced immediately. Kathleen Turner is an alcoholic, the fallen goddess, the diva in decline. No one knew that behind the thick makeup and strained smile was a woman gripping the arm of her chair just to keep her hands from trembling. While filming Serial Mom, 1994, her condition worsened to the point where it could no longer be hidden. The media didn't sympathize. They mocked her, turning every swollen photo into a cruel joke. And so, alcohol became her refuge. It began as a few drinks to dull the pain, then grew into a nightly ritual. Turner drank to forget the ache in her joints, the pitying looks from others, and the unbearable truth that Hollywood had abandoned her. She once told a friend, "Alcohol helps me forget what it feels like to be left behind." Those were the darkest years of her life. On December 3, 1999, unable to recognize herself in the mirror, Kathleen Turner quietly checked into the Marworth Rehabilitation Center in Pennsylvania. There was no scandal, no intervention, just a woman trying to save what was left of herself. After months of treatment, she successfully quit drinking, began new therapy for her arthritis, changed her diet, and rebuilt her body through exercise. Though her health would never fully return, her spirit had found light again. But when Turner stood up, Hollywood did not open its arms. The industry's cruelty was laid bare. Beauty can determine whether you're respected or erased. In that isolation, Turner began to understand something profound: that some battles don't need an audience but are still worth fighting to the end. Because this was no longer the struggle of a movie star. It was the survival of a human being. By the time she turned 50, Kathleen Turner was no longer the woman of steamy thrillers or the star who once made Hollywood tremble. She was a survivor, and more importantly, a woman unafraid to tell her truth. In 2008, she published her memoir, Send Yourself Roses, marketed as a candid confession about her career, her loves, and the wars she had fought. But within weeks, it sparked a new media firestorm. In the book, Turner wrote that during the filming of Peggy Sue Got Married, 1986, her co-star, Nicolas Cage, had been arrested twice for drunk driving and once for stealing a chihuahua. The revelation spread like wildfire, painting Cage as reckless and unstable, and Turner as the actress, bold enough to expose Hollywood's secrets. But within days, Cage filed a defamation lawsuit against her, the publisher, and a British newspaper. It all collapsed quickly. The story wasn't true. Turner was forced to issue a public apology. Together with the publisher, she admitted the mistake, agreed to pay legal costs, and donated an additional sum to a charity of Cage's choosing. Reuters published a short cutting headline, "Nicolas Cage wins apology over dog napping claim." One simple line, but it cut deep into a reputation already fragile. The world by then was no longer the Hollywood of the 1980s, the world that once worshipped Kathleen Turner as a goddess. The press and the rising tide of social media devoured every scandal, while audiences needed only a headline to forget decades of brilliance. Yet Turner didn't respond with bitterness. She faced her mistake with the calm of someone who had already lost far greater things. In an interview later, she said admitting her wrongdoing was its own act of courage, because even when the world laughs in your face, you still have to be brave enough to lift your head. Smaller controversies followed in the years after. Some directors and former co-stars from the 80s and 90s described Turner as difficult, arrogant, or controlling. But to her, these were simply the labels that every strong woman eventually wears. She didn't deny having a forceful personality, but countered that sexism was the real source of those accusations. When men speak up, they're called decisive, she said. When women do the same, they're called demanding. Kathleen Turner never apologized for being strong. She never regretted arguing for her artistic vision or making powerful men uncomfortable. Because in the end, what she truly lost wasn't her fame. It was her innocence, the belief that Hollywood would ever forgive a woman with a spine. And while many of her peers chose silence, Turner kept stepping onto stages and into classrooms, passing on the lessons she had paid for with her entire life. In this world, a woman who dares to speak the truth will always be the last one to be heard. Though her body was no longer as agile as it once was, Kathleen Turner never walked away from art. At 65, while many of her contemporaries had chosen silence, she continued to appear on screen and on stage, not to prove anything, but simply because that was where she belonged. From 2019 to 2021, Turner returned to television in Netflix's The Kominsky Method, reuniting with Michael Douglas after more than 3 decades. For audiences, it felt like seeing Joan Wilder and Oliver Rose meet again. But this time, instead of fighting, they smiled together at the passage of age. Turner affectionately called it a kinder version of the War of the Roses, a humorous wink, yet also a deeply moving one, as 2 former on-screen adversaries shared a quiet, graceful moment of reconciliation. Not content with television alone, Turner continued to conquer the stage, the place where she always found her truest life force. She took on Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, a role that demands immense emotional depth and psychological strength, something few actresses would dare to attempt past 60. Alongside that, she created and directed her own one-woman show, Finding My Voice, a blend of storytelling, singing, and candid reflection where she shared her life with the audience like an old friend over coffee. In early 2025, Turner moved audiences to tears when she appeared on the red carpet in New York for the premiere of The Roses, a remake of The War of the Roses, 1989, the film that had immortalized her partnership with Michael Douglas. Dressed in a simple black suit, walking with a cane yet standing tall, Turner strode through the applause of admirers. The flashbulbs flickered, and for a moment everyone realized the icon was still here, only now draped in the quiet dignity of time. Parallel to her film work, Turner kept her artistic rhythm alive on Broadway, the space where she said she felt most free. She continued to perform in classics such as Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and her signature Finding My Voice, where she sang and spoke with that unmistakable raspy voice, the same voice that once made Hollywood tremble. Audiences no longer came just to watch her perform. They came to feel her, to witness a woman who had survived fame, illness, and loneliness, yet still carried fire in her eyes. In 2024 and into early 2025, Turner surprised everyone by debuting in musical theater, something few thought possible at her age. In A Little Night Music at the Ogunquit Playhouse, she portrayed Madame Armfeldt, an elderly aristocrat confined to a wheelchair. The role was tailored specifically so Turner could safely perform 8 shows a week without risking her health. On stage, she didn't just act, she inspired. Every line, every glance carried a quiet declaration. Art has no age, only the choice to keep believing. In April 2025, Turner appeared once again in New York, this time as a presenter for the 68th Annual Drama Desk Awards. One of the most prestigious theater events in America. As she walked on stage, the audience rose to their feet, not out of pity for a legendary actress living with illness, but out of respect, because before them stood a woman who had never surrendered. Using a cane to steady herself, she still smiled, cracked jokes, and spoke with the sharp, commanding tone of the woman who once made Hollywood tremble. In a world that has changed beyond recognition, Kathleen Turner no longer seeks to prove anything. She simply lives, works, and is, without asking for sympathy or applause. By 2025, audiences may no longer see her on the silver screen, but they still find her in the glow of the stage lights, in the laughter of the crowd, and in the confident gaze of someone who has conquered everything, even time itself. Now, though she walks the streets of Manhattan with the aid of a cane, Kathleen Turner carries herself with the same poise, the same sharp voice, and the same vibrant smile. She asks for no pity, only that audiences remember. As long as there is breath and a voice, art remains a battle worth living for. And at 71, in a world that once turned its back on her, Kathleen Turner still proves one simple, defiant truth. Sometimes, standing tall is its own kind of victory. And perhaps, that quiet endurance is the greatest role she has ever played, one no director could have written, except life itself. Throughout more than 4 decades under the spotlight, Kathleen Turner has built a legacy that cannot be measured by awards or box office numbers, but by the way she endured in a Hollywood that has never been kind to strong women. She stands as living proof of a harsh truth. In a world where beauty is often used to disguise talent, Turner dared to stand tall, outspoken, fierce, and unapologetic. Her smoky, husky voice, that sound like fire beneath the skin, remains one of the most intoxicating in film history. Her portrayal of Maddie Walker in Body Heat redefined the femme fatale for an entire generation. As Joan Wilder in Romancing the Stone and Peggy Sue in Peggy Sue Got Married, she proved that a woman could be powerful, vulnerable, sensual, and profound all at once. Even in animation, Jessica Rabbit, brought to life by Turner's voice alone, endures as a timeless symbol of irresistible allure. But Turner's true value goes far beyond her artistry. After overcoming illness and depression, she became a fearless advocate for women in film, speaking out against Hollywood's practice of discarding women after 40 and defending young actresses forced to choose between beauty and dignity. At Pace University, where she has taught acting, she doesn't just teach craft, she teaches resilience, the right to say no, and the belief that no one has the right to define a woman's worth but herself. Today, even if she no longer graces magazine covers or box office charts, Kathleen Turner remains an undying flame, a symbol of endurance, of rising again after the world has turned its back. Those who once called her difficult now see her for what she truly is. Part of a generation of women who dared to live honestly, to fight back, and to keep moving forward long after everyone else thought the story was over. As the stage lights dim, Turner still sits there, cane in hand, a wry smile on her lips, and eyes that burn as brightly as ever. She no longer needs a role to prove anything, because her life itself has become her greatest performance, the role of a woman who lived fully and fearlessly as herself. And what about you? When you look back at legends like Kathleen Turner, people who dared to pay the price of being true to themselves, do you think that real allure lies not in appearance, but in the courage to rise after falling? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep exploring the stories of Hollywood's most unbreakable souls.